Gonzaga Nation, Dan Dickau here, trying something new with former teammate and friend of mine, Winston Brooks. Well, you've heard of Manning Cash, you've heard of some different things. This is Gonzaga Nation's version of a live stream watching a Gonzaga game. So obviously Gonzaga is in Honolulu right now, about to get started with their first round game against Purdue in the Maui Invitational. Tennessee-Syracuse just wrapped up. Tennessee with the win, so Gonzaga, if they win, they will play Syracuse. If by chance they lose, they will face Syracuse. What I saw in that game was a pretty darn good Tennessee team, a Syracuse team that didn't quit, which is not surprising considering they're playing for first-year coach Adrian Autry, who took over for Jim Boeheim, which was nearly 50 years as the head coach. But enough about that. Let's introduce our guest today, Winston Brooks. So, Dub, as we all call you, how goes it?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here with such a legend. Dan Dickau, my man.
I knew you were going to say something. They put me on blast at some point during our conversation. But this is fun. I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be interesting because, Gonzaga Nation, we're doing lots of different things. Adam and I have a show together. We have Greg Heister in a lot. Then we have a bunch of different guys come in. Sacre's been in for a show. Derek Rivio. So glad to have you because we were former teammates.
Yes.
Rivio and I weren't teammates. Sacre and I weren't teammates. You and I were. So we can break it down as far as one of the crews that didn't quite go as far as we wanted to, even though we were pretty dang good.
Yeah. I got my reservations about that. Few didn't play me when I should have guarded. What's his name for Wyoming?
Jason Strait. The point guard,
the
right?
Point guard.
Yeah, the little point guard, Jason
the one
Strait.
that just destroyed us that day.
That was not good. I was teammates with him in the G League 8 years later.
He's a really good player though.
Yeah.
Fast. And they had another big kid, Josh.
Josh Davis played the NBA for a while.
Yeah.
So, and then they had two big dudes.
But I just came out of my cast. Remember, I came out of my cast because I broke my wrist.
Yeah.
So few thought at the time the chemistry would kind of be thrown off. Because you guys did it. I was out for 14 games.
Yeah.
You guys did a great job, keeping things going, pushing, amping that program up even more. So we went, where were we at? We were in New Mexico.
Yeah.
I
try not to go back to Albuquerque.
Ever. I was ready. I was like, dude, coach, come on. Hey, I'm sitting there like, come on. And he's like, Dan and Blake, those guys, they've been playing so well together, which you guys were.
Yeah.
He didn't want to, I get what he was saying, but a guy like myself, I was like, give me, hey.
You're sitting out 14 games. You're ready. You've got the energy and the
I'm
conditioning.
Sitting there like, come on. I'm ready. I ain't waste no fuel in the last 14 games, right?
Yeah.
So I'm ready to go. So that was kind of tough, after that one. And like I said, you guys did a great job. We weren't supposed to lose that game.
No.
That's what was said.
We'll over the course of the next 2 hours or so, we'll talk about your high school career, your career to get to Gonzaga, what you did afterwards. There's two disappointing losses in my playing career. One was in high school when we lost in the semifinals of the state tournament, and then the Wyoming loss was the other one. I have my wife. She won't let me live that game down to this day.
How's the family doing, by the way?
Family's great.
Great.
Yeah, we're really good. We've got other family in town right now for Thanksgiving, so it's nice for me to break away for a little bit. I know they're not watching just yet, so I can say that before they watch. But get away for a little bit before the craziness.
You got a great family. What do you got? 12 kids now?
Not quite. We got 7.
Okay,
so,
7. Yeah. I got 4 now.
Yeah.
I got a little 4-month-old now.
Okay.
Or 5 months now. 2 girls and my stepson. He's my son, but stepson. Yeah. So we got 4, and we're right in the mix of all of it: basketball, Y-ball, high school ball, 2 Y-ball seasons, and a 5-month-old. It's like, oh man, and I worked all night, So. Yeah,
we'll get into that too, because you're now a cop, and you've been a cop for how long here in Spokane?
Here in Spokane, just reached 10 years, November the 11th.
Wow.
For Pryor and Coeur d'Alene, so about 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably some interesting stories. Maybe some that can be on the live stream, some that are for other opportunities when we see each other.
Can't talk about all of it.
But yeah, let's go back to that Wyoming game while we're waiting for the game to tip off in Honolulu. One of my most disappointing losses, simply because we did not shoot the ball very well. We didn't defensively. We tried to outscore teams back then.
Yeah.
You brought that defensive mentality and mindset, and you probably would have slowed down. Well, I know you would have slowed down Jay Strait a little bit more than myself. What were your memories of that? Obviously, while you were going through it.
Of that particular game?
Yeah.
Oh man, I had like a little battle with some of the fans.
Really?
Because we were just talking back and forth to each other, and I was like, just wait till I get in there. Never happened. Right? It never happened. So, it was, I think, playing in New Mexico is different, than playing in other places. It's like northern Arizona, the higher elevation places. But I think that kind of took a toll on the team. Because clearly we were better than that team. I mean, some of those kids, like I said, Josh playing in the NBA, some of those kids were just good.
Yeah.
But overall, our team was better than them.
Yeah.
And we blew it. And, after the game, Coach Rice, Coach Rice is my boy, came to me and says, yeah, this won't happen again, right? And I go, yeah, if you play me. Leon's my guy, though. Like, few is few. I get along with few.
Yeah.
Way after we were playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leon, he made it a point. He goes, we're not gonna do this again. And then we went to that, the next year when we played Arizona.
That was the epic game, right?
Yeah, and that was, even though we lost that one, that was heartbreaking. But man, that thing was on an instant classic the next day.
Yeah, I remember watching that game.
People still bring that one up too. So like you said about the Wyoming game, people come up and like, that was your last game. Like, yeah, thanks for reminding me, right? Like, I know that was a great game, but we lost it. So yeah.
So you missed. You said I think it was 14 games, or you played 14 games that year. You were out with an injury. And one of the things that I've always said about the best Gonzaga teams is they have two ball handler decision makers on the floor at all times.
Yeah.
You had it with Suggs, you had it with Andrew Nembhard.
Yep.
Right now, I think you've got a chance to have that with Ryan Nembhard and Nolan Hickman. Our group, me and Blake, and then we wouldn't lose anything pushing the tempo or playmaking when the three of us, because if I remember correctly, there were plenty of games where the three of us started, right?
Yeah, we played together. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
We had some games that we were clicking, and I think that was the Quinn Hall, Richie Fromm, and Ryan Floyd. I think that was like the first three that can handle the ball at times. Richie wasn't that great of a ball handler, but the other two were. Yeah. But he did add that. But I think that group with you and Blake was probably the start of that three-headed guard thing.
And it worked because Blake was big. I mean, we were both smaller guards, around 6 foot, and Blake was a good 6'4". Yeah. And then I've been told I wasn't the greatest defender, so you kind of balance out some of the strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. You can really get after a guy. Blake had that IQ where he could use his length. Yeah,
your dad used to tell me, thanks for being Dan's defender. Oh man, I miss it. How's Pops doing?
Family's good. Can't complain too much.
So he's like, yep. Thanks for being Dan's defender. And I was like, damn, you were probably, I've had some friends growing up in high school, but you was probably the first superstar that I played with, right? The Dan Dickau song.
Oh,
I was listening. I was in the car. I'm like, what? I turned the radio. Like, hold on, this dude got a song?
Yeah, those were the days.
Remember we used to travel and everyone was packing, waiting for us to get off the bus. Yeah. They weren't waiting for us, they were waiting for you to get off the bus. But it was like a rock star mentality. That's the first time I ever seen that. Like, I can't think of where, but like we were in New York at times or whatever, and man, those fans were just waiting for you to get off the bus. And
that Monmouth trip in St. Joe's was a fun trip.
Yes. You had the little mop top haircut. A lot of people talk about Morrison's hair, but you were the first one to have the mop.
He added it with the mustache. So.
Yeah, that was gross. Sorry,
well, I'll have to give him a hard time for you the next time we're recording. But the game started now. Obviously, Maui, they've won it twice. It's funny because your junior year, my senior year, we played in the Great Alaska Shootout. And oddly enough, the other day, my son was bored. He's a 5th grader. He's homeschooled. So he'll get ahead of homework and then have nothing to do. So I put on the Great Alaska Shootout Championship game where we played against Marquette, and it was Dwayne Wade's coming out party.
No, it was Travis Diener.
Yeah, Travis Diener had a hell of a game
I remember that one like yesterday as well.
He had like 15 or 18 as a freshman.
Yeah.
But what do you remember about maybe that tournament? Because that was at the time one of the elite tournaments out there in the non-conference. Following year, you guys are in Maui. Gonzaga is a staple now, but I have great memories of that Alaska tournament. How about you?
The Great Alaska tournament was really fun. I know we played. What got us off on the I think the first game we played was Texas.
We played. I don't know. I don't remember the order, but we played St. John's and we played Texas.
Okay, we beat St. John's.
Yeah, they had a good point guard.
We
Marcus
beat
Hatton.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus Hatton and they were trying to get us to go to St. John's together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mike Jarvis,
T.J. Ford.
Yep.
Was playing for Texas.
We were lucky because he had sprained his ankle.
Yeah.
So he was one of the fastest guys I ever played against.
We played. I mean, and then you see, Dwayne Wade wasn't Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
That we know, Flash.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But we went into that game with the scouting report going, hey, this is Dwayne Wade. This is what he does. So we're like, all right, let's go, right? All of us, we're focused on Dwayne Wade. And then Travis Diener, he probably had like 30, I think. It was more.
It was a lot.
And I was like, who is this kid? Like, we game plan for this one, which we did good. Dwayne, we probably had 15 or so. I don't know.
Well, he damn near had a quadruple double because he had like 10 rebounds, like 8 steals, 7 blocks. It was.
But that shows you, like, even like these games, we can go, scouting report for Zach Edey and number 3 with the ball just come up and give you 20 points, right?
Yeah.
So anyone can have those days. But we had that. Did we play in the championship?
That was
Marquette?
the championship, yeah. It was Marquette in the championship.
That was real fun. All those kids up there, they loved the Zags even back then.
Yeah.
Those kids. I was looking at pictures. I have pictures. I was taking pictures with a bunch of the kids out there.
We practiced at a high school.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the high school team, their whole program stuck around and watched, if I remember right.
I think so.
We kind of talked to them for a bit after the game, or after the practice. So that would have been your junior year. That experience at the Great Alaska was awesome. And Gonzaga was still at the time, like, anytime we got an ESPN game, we were pumped.
Oh, yeah.
We were excited.
We played the next year, I think we played North Carolina State.
Okay.
In Jersey. Because Dick Vitale was like, yeah, the Wolfpack, and they're going to just do it. And we're like, what? So that actually fueled us a little bit. We beat NC State with Julius Hodges.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah. We played Stanford with Josh Childress in Oakland. We played a lot. We played in Maui.
Yeah, so you were the first GU group that went to Maui. Oh, nice pass there from
that's a great pass. Great run.
Ryan Nemhart. We're a little behind with the delay, but one of the things that I see early on with Ryan Nemhart is total control. I don't know how much you've gotten a chance to either stop by practice because Coach Few lets a lot of us former players pop in and watch, or if you've watched the first couple games, but he's at total control.
Yeah, he's really fast. He has good vision, and I think obviously he has an older brother that he learned from as well.
Yeah.
Did he play at Creighton?
He started off at Creighton. He's freshman of the year 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, I think he need to pick up a little bit more on defense. I just think that because he's fast, right? He has good feet, but he's undersized. So if they allow someone bigger than him, try to take advantage of him, they will. So he's got to be able to pick up full court. But as long as he keeps doing that, I don't think the scouts are going to be saying too bad in Sao Paulo.
We touched a little bit on the 2-point guard lineup for Gonzaga. Like Jalen Suggs, rightfully so, had a ton of acclaim coming in. Everybody knew he was a one and done guy, but really that year to me, Nemhart was the guy. Like every time there was an important play to be made, the ball was in his hands.
Nemhart is bigger than what you think.
Oh yeah,
like
Andrew.
When you see him in person, you're like, I saw him. Wait,
he's a legit 6'4", maybe 6'5".
He's a big kid, but you look at him on TV, and like I've heard that many times too. Hey, you look bigger in person than you do on TV. So, no, Andrew's a really big kid. I thought his brother would be a little bit bigger when I heard that he was coming. I never saw him or did anything. But yeah, Andrew plays under control. you might think at times it's slow, but you know better than any one of us that's in there, besides maybe Morris and Zachary, that the NBA game, it looks like it's like slow. But that's because all the guys have mastered their crafts, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually moving faster than you think. But
Yeah.
when you watch it, you're like, man, that Andrew's slow, like playing for the Pacers, like. But really, if you see him in person.
Well, the big part of it is NBA guys just you're right, they make it look easy because they've mastered the ability to change speeds, change direction. Yeah. They understand spacing so much better than a college player.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to understand that. The ones that get it in college, they stand out. And there's a reason, like, maybe they average 20 a game, or maybe they do something unique to catch scouts' eyes at the next level. They just know things, they understand, they do things different. But we go to first media timeout. Gonzaga's up, I think 12-6. Mm-hmm. They look pretty good so far. You look at, they played Purdue and Zach Edey last year in the PK 85. Zach Edey's a monster. I mean, there's no other way to put it. 7'4", gets up and down, reigning player of the year in the country. You're putting together a scouting report either as a coach, say you were coaching now, or when you were playing, and you see a big like that who you might view as not very mobile, although he's gotten better. What's your mindset? What are you trying to do?
Me as a coach, I want my big kid, whoever it is, to start touching him at half court. Mm-hmm. Start wearing him down, right? Because if you let guys like that just get to their spots, they're going to produce somehow, whether it's points, rebounds, or whatever. The more you make them work, right, the more you touch them, the more they have to fight through that, they start to wear down a little bit. And over the course of the game, then hopefully, later on in the game, they're worn down so much that they're not so effective. Like I do this for my little AAU teams. We talk about all of this stuff. Like I'm teaching kids right now, like I got my little third grader, I'm teaching them spacing right now.
Okay.
I'm putting X's on the floor. But all these things we talk about with like these guys, coaches know it, the players know it, but we don't execute it all the time either.
Yeah.
Right? So, hey Dan, I want you to touch, Zach Edey at half court every time he comes on the offensive end. Every time. Wear him out. Well, you might have just scored a bucket and you're just, happy.
You got that adrenaline rush getting back on the
just run straight back to the paint, right?
Yeah.
So we're all humans. We make mistakes, but that's what I would do is just touch him every time.
Yeah.
Just don't let him get to that spot. If he gets to that spot at 7'4", no matter how big we are, because he's a healthy kid too, right?
Yeah.
He's going to produce something. So.
And he's become, obviously he's had touch his whole course of his career, but he's done a really good job of improving his footwork. Like, he can catch it on the move to a certain extent. Granted, you're not going to throw it in a small window and ask him to catch it, but he can catch it in a crowd if the ball's thrown high, not travel, pivot away from pressure, finish, different things. But I've been really impressed with watching him so far earlier in the season. The one thing, though, is years ago, he never would have made it till his fourth year because he would have been in the NBA. But the NBA game's so different now, and the NIL is a part of college.
The NIL has changed the landscape.
Yeah.
But can you imagine when you were playing with the NIL?
It would have been fun to kind of discern which deal I wanted to do or whatnot.
I want to drive a Maybach 500. It's changed the game, and good for those guys, right? Like I know some still say the college kids shouldn't get paid, but man, you can go down at any time with a blown ACL, back, eye poke, whatever the case is, and not get your shot in the NBA.
Yeah.
And even what's the percentage of collegiate players that go to the NBA? Like 2% or something like that.
Yeah, it's small.
Right. So I think it's great that they allow these kids to earn some sort of revenue, whether it's like Utah. They gave their whole football team
I saw that
players Dodge Ram trucks, right? It's like that's good for them. So
we see Gonzaga again, as we'll catch up on the live stream. They're pulling Zach Edey away from the basket in a pick and roll. Gonzaga's bigs will pop. he's got to make a decision. Does he get back out and close out, or is he going to stay kind of plugging defensively in the paint? They've got now 2 made threes at least from Gonzaga's bigs. But back to the NIL, I've always felt college players should get paid because of how much money is generated, especially in football, men's basketball, and now over the last couple of years, women's college basketball has really grown with sponsorship dollars. But I think because the NCAA drug their feet for so long, you opened it up to where it's a free-for-all. There's no salary cap in NIL like there would be in professional sports.
No.
So this was my thought, is it if they would have just cleared this up like 10, 15 years ago, freshmen make X, sophomores get X times .125. Then juniors a bump, seniors a bump. If your team wins the league title, you get a bonus.
Yeah.
All the way down the line. Now you kind of know what is having to be paid out throughout the course of the year if you're an okay team or you're a great team.
Yeah.
Now it changes every year based on the transfer portal who you're trying to get.
Yeah, and I saw some salaries like 4.8, for a certain kid, 3.2 million for a certain kid. I'm like, wow, these kids do they really? I mean, they're gonna have, they're gonna have a good life after the fact of college. Everyone goes to school to get an education, get a degree. So hopefully, you go look for that job that should be a goaltender.
Should have been, yeah.
That you make yourself, you prepare yourself for the world, right? Well, now you're getting a degree from Gonzaga, and you're making. I'm just using the number because I don't know what any of them make, right?
Yeah.
So you get a Gonzaga degree, and you walk with $2 million, and it's like, man, you're going to be okay, right? Like you should be able to make a living for the rest of your life, even if you don't go professionally, right?
So what did you get your degree in?
Physical education. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a funny story behind that.
Can't wait to hear.
So growing up in Richmond, Virginia, that's where I'm from. I was, school wasn't a top priority for kids where we were from, right? And one of the guys, one of the older guys, came home. We had a couple guys go to college. One guy came home and says, "Hey guys, man, I'm telling you, when you guys go to school, just go get a physical education degree because you don't really have to do much, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I think a lot of people took that to heart. And then I got to school and I was like, yeah, he was lying.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to do in physical education, like learning the body parts, the systems. Thankfully, I had a great professor, Doc Tennell. You remember Diane Tennell? I don't know if you remember her at Gonzaga.
I don't.
Great professor. She would help me learn all these things, right? Give me some extra tutoring sessions when we need. All of us that play sports, they know that we're so, inundated with practice, games, weights, that some of these professors go, okay, we'll help you out a little bit, right? We'll stay behind class for another hour, or you want to come in early, And she was great at that, so she helped me out. But I think if I could do it all over again, I'd probably get a PE degree again.
I was a broadcast major, and I'm one of the guys. I'm lucky. I always said growing up, I want to play in the NBA. I want to then get into coaching or be in TV broadcasting. I've been able to do a little bit, all of it. I mean, I would love. There are days I miss the competitiveness of playing, which coaching can fill that to a certain void. Spent a year with the Blazers staff. It didn't work out, so that's when we moved out up
you
here.
coached there?
I was player development for 1 year with the Blazers. Yeah. It's one of those things where, like in the NBA coaching, you just kind of have to, unless you're, and there's nothing against like a Steve Nash or Chauncey Billups, or right away you kind of move into those roles. They've been around the game at a high level for so long, they see it and they do it a little differently. But there's a process usually. Player development to then behind the bench to then front of the bench to then hopefully interviewing for some different opportunities. But right off the bat, I was actually a finalist for a G League head coaching job after my first year coaching. And that would have been unique and interesting. I think it would have been like 33 maybe as a G League head coach. don't know how that would have worked after all, but it was a heck of an experience preparing for that type of job interview.
Yeah,
I mean it was intense.
So I kind of had a similar path to the college game, because normally you come in, you do film, all these other things you do, but Eastern Washington
had a coach at that time.
Mike Burns.
Okay,
he's
with Leon Rice in Boise.
Oh yeah, they had an assistant spot to open up, and I think it was, I got a call. Hey, do you want to try this coaching thing? Because I screwed my shoulder up. I had to have surgery. Came back, did all this stuff. I was like, sure, I'll try it. And I slid right into the actual assistant coaching job instead of having to do, in that one little corner room where you're breaking down all film and doing all that stuff. So I was lucky to be a coach, at a Division I school too, and there's a lot behind the scenes to that too.
The hours of breaking down film, there's an art to it. Like, it takes a while to truly learn the art of watching a game from a coach's perspective, to put together a scouting report, and then to do it where then you become efficient with it. I remember when I did think I was going to keep going down the coaching path, Tommy Light and we would talk all the time. And he was explaining like how he'd break down a game film, and it's like with I can't remember the name because it keeps changing the film editing series. Yeah. It's like you do this, and I can clip a game, and I can watch a full game clipped in 40 minutes or whatever it is, and you're like your head's spinning just the first time he's explaining it.
Yeah. But
it's different. It's unique.
So on that subject of coaching at Eastern, I'm still a little bit upset with Mike Burns. Mike Burns, if you watch this.
We'll clip it. We can send it to him.
You already know. So we played GU in the Spokane Arena. Okay. I'm the scout for that game. Obviously, rightfully so. I just came from Gonzaga. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. I really don't even need to watch film. Yeah. I'm just gonna tell you what I know about the players, right? So I put everything down in the scouting report. Don't let Earl Knight crash offensive boards, right? Crowd Tony Skinner because he can't dribble. Tony's like my brother. Right? Tony's my brother. I love him to death. But crowd him because he can't dribble. Don't give Morrison any open shots. Actually, even with Ravio, get up into him because he need a rhythm dribble to get going. I put everything on the table. Hey, guys, here you go. I feel like a trader today, right? Yeah. We go to the arena, and we're up at halftime by like 8. I'm like,
your scout's working.
Like, let's do it, right? It's like a minute left in the first half. Well, I can't remember who shot it, but all I see is this bald-headed kid with a headband with a cape on coming down the middle of the key, catches it off the rail. Is Earl. The entire arena went up, erupted. Right? So then they made their run, and I think we're up by 8 or so at the half, but that was like the last play. So don't let them get started, right? Don't let them get started. Don't let Earl get another rebound. Well, we go to the locker room, and Burns is like, we're doing everything like we should, but we're going to do these things now. He went back to the old way.
Coaches have a tendency to do that.
I'm
they
like,
go back
what?
to what they're comfortable with.
I'm like, hold on. Whoa. I'm giving you the blueprint right now, right? Yeah. And we lost by like 16. I was sitting in the locker room at the end. I didn't even want to come out of the locker room. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to see, Tony. I don't want to see Ravi or any of those guys. Yeah. But I was super upset after that one because I gave them everything.
And it's crazy because as a young coach, even if you have that inner kind of knowledge about a program, you have to understand your place in the program that you're at. Because if you want to advance your coaching career, you don't go against the head man.
Absolutely.
In that position, in that setting.
So, okay, Mike, this is what you want to do at halftime? Okay, got it. Yeah. Right? I just sit there on the bench and watch the putback dunks and the shots from Morrison.
I'm going to ask him about that the next time I see him. And then he probably is going to give me a look, and he'll probably be like, let's call Winston. Oh, I can't wait.
I just ran into Burnsy a couple months ago, him and Leon. Yeah. And those guys are so fun. Yeah. So fun to be around.
So let's get into assistant coaches. Like the Gonzaga assistant coaching staff right now is phenomenal. D. Mike, who we both played with.
Yeah.
Stephen Gentry, who was around the program when we were there, earned his way on. R.J. Barsh, I don't know if you had a chance to meet him yet.
Haven't met him yet.
He's from the west side, Tacoma. Unbelievable. And then I love the fact that they, promoted Zach Norvell, and I think Jorge Sands is tremendous too. But Gonzaga's assistant coaches have been great.
Batista's there now.
Yeah, Batista's there.
Yeah.
Let's go through each of the assistant coaches. Let's go Billy Greer. What are your memories of Billy Greer?
Coach Greer was a phenomenal defensive coach. Mm-hmm. He would break down, where you need to be at. What are you going to see? When do you double? Do you double on the first dribble? Do you go right away? Because that kid is like pretty savvy with the ball, mm-hmm. right? I think this is just my opinion, and my opinion means the most. Is I wish Coach Greer would have never left GU.
Really?
Yeah. And I know everyone want their head coaching opportunities.
Yeah.
But man, he was so crucial to that program at that time. Mm-hmm. Just like we'll get to him later. Just like Tommy Lloyd, right?
Yeah.
So crucial to the program. Coach Rice. Oh man, what can you not say about Coach Rice?
Yeah.
Right? He's hilarious. He's smart. Mm-hmm. He knows his basketball. He's more of a kick it out, get the ball moving, things like that. Coach Rice was the best out of the group of being a player's coach.
I would 100% agree. I mean, because Billy Coach Greer would be, at times just...
He'd be fiery.
Yeah, he'd be fiery, and guys would just get pissed.
And he always clapped his hands and settle down.
Leon had the joke of the day.
Yeah.
And it could be off the wall, it could be out of character, it could be colorful in a bad way. But he always kept things loose, so he was the player's coach. I mean, it was a joke of the day every time from Leon.
Yeah, Leon. Like I said, I still talk to him to today. Yeah. Right? I don't talk to Coach Greer because we. It's not that we don't talk.
Yeah.
When he left, we never really.
He had more of a bond with Leon.
So Leon, I talk to him. He and Robin, quite often. I was just down there and I went and visited. Whenever I'm in Boise, I have to give him a call. Mm-hmm. Whenever. It doesn't matter if I'm there for 6 hours or for 2 days. I have to give him a call to see if I can link up with him. I took my daughters to a Boise State game as well. Tommy was just getting started when we were there.
It would have been our lone year together, I think was Tommy's second year.
Yeah.
Because it was my redshirt year, he was basically a student assistant. Mm-hmm. So he was doing his student teaching at Meade High School where he got to know Morrison and his family.
Yeah. Started
that recruiting process way early.
Yeah.
And then guys would go out on the road recruiting, the team would go out on road trips, and as a redshirt, I couldn't travel. So Tommy was my guy every single day. He probably got sick of me, like, hey, Tommy, let's go work out. Tommy, let's go work out. We played one-on-one more times than you can imagine. To see his ascension has been tremendous.
What he's done right now at Arizona is kind of, it doesn't happen that fast.
No, I agree.
With coaches. He when he was here, he was the overseas guy. Mm-hmm. That brought in, Ronnie Terryoff and Batista, and who else? Killian Tilly, Kelly O'Denny. I mean, he got all of those guys. And no disrespect to Coach Few and those guys, but that was Tommy's job.
Yeah.
Right. Now he's opened that up to Arizona too now, and it's like, man, I'm so happy to see him being successful, because he questioned himself several times if he should leave or not. Mm-hmm. And I think he had the right spot, and the sky's the limit for that guy in Arizona. Tommy's an awesome guy. He's super awesome guy. The only one I didn't get along with was Coach Few.
Really?
I'm not afraid to say that. Right?
Okay.
I like me and the guy are super cool. Right now, but playing for Coach Few was hard.
It could be.
So it's like, man, you So, you know, we didn't have too many good things going on. You know, you were his little buddy.
Well, in full disclosure, Coach Few has always been, since he's been a head coach and even before, he gravitates to the offensive side of things.
Yeah.
And that was
Absolutely.
perfect for me.
Yeah.
Where you were more of you were a better shooter and a better offensive player than probably people remember you for or would give you credit for. But defensively, you were as good as they came.
So I tell my daughter this one day, because we talk about some of these things too, and I go, there's times when, and you know this when you get to the NBA. Let's take Patrick Beverly for an example.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Beverly averaged 30-some points in high school.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Yeah. 18-some points in college. But all you see is this defensive player now, because you have to at times adapt your game if you want to play, right, to what's needed on the court. So yeah, I could score when I was, you know, coming through and doing all these things. I had double-doubles at NIC almost nightly, right? And then I came here and I'm going, So in this contract, Dan get to shoot 50 times. Blake get another 25, and I'm just gonna play defense, right? So, but that's what I needed to do to even touch the court, right? And our first scrimmage, I think I scored 22. Like the kennel, what they call it, craziness in the kennel. Yeah. When we played up and down, I think you were out, or I would have 40. But you know, you got to adapt at times. So, like Nolan Hickman is doing a great job right now of playing off ball.
100%.
Right. Yeah. Nembhard comes in. Nolan Hickman was the point guard last year for the majority of it, but now, you know, with Nembhard, he's learning even more to play off the ball. Yeah. So there's just times when you got to adapt and make things work for you.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, we look at this score now. Gonzaga's up 4. I think they've done a nice job of limiting Zach Edey's touches. I think I can only remember maybe 1 or 2 that he's got a free roll off pick and rolls. They've been active defensively when Lawyer and Smith, the good guards for Purdue, have gotten into the paint. But offensively, they've gotten good stuff, but the size of Edey's taken away a few things. There was a play a couple possessions ago on a roll. You thought Van Greg had a free lane to the dunk, and Zach Edey's there to clean it up.
Yeah, he's just massive. Huff is actually, he has some good size to him too. Yeah. He's actually very talented. Edey just takes up so much space, you know, both ends of the court. He's gonna, if he even jump to block the shot, he's gonna get a finger on it, right? Yeah. He's gonna do something. I saw one move earlier where he had a good, you know, spin to the baseline. But Ike has actually been doing a good job. I'm not sure how many points he has right now. But Ike's been doing a good job on him. Ike's a tough kid. He's not athletic as one would think. Yeah. But he's very he's very I wouldn't say savvy, but he knows how to play. Right?
He's Zach Randolph light to me.
Yes.
He hits you, creates contact. He's got long enough arms. He's got different release points on his jump hook that he can finish. And it's kind of one of those things where, you know, he was the unsung guy nationally in the transfer portal because he was sat out a whole season last year with an injury.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten to know the team right now like I normally. I'm normally in there with them. Yeah. This number 4 kid,
Dusty Stromer.
He's going to be a good player.
100%.
I saw him the other night just for a few minutes. He's going to be a really good player. Like he's solid. He's strong. He can shoot it. He doesn't look strong, but what I mean by strong is the way he competes, right? Because that's a different. Yeah. We were talking about that at the house the other day about playing hard and competing. There's 2 different things. Yes. Right. But he competes. He's going to be the kid here soon. That's going to be the absolute fan favorite. Because he's going to be down on the floor. Yeah. He's going to be doing the little things that we know every team needs. Yeah. Like what do you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a replay here of Nembhard, you know, pushing the pace, trying to turn the corner, but Zach Edey just right there.
That's when he jumps. You just throw it off his knee and hope it goes out of bounds. It won't be counted as a block. Yeah. But you don't get that one, buddy.
But see, they're going pick and roll again, and instead of rolling, Ike's popping. So then he puts right there. Nemhart kind of puts Edie in a bind. Like, do I wait till the defender gets back in front, or do I start inching back? He starts inching back to Ike, opens up Nemhart to the rim for a finish.
So if we put you in that pick and roll with him, we're gonna bring that out even higher.
Yes.
Right, because you're gonna shoot it 2 feet past the 3-pointer. Right, and these are the things you talk about with your guards. Is Nemhart that good of a shooter yet? Because if so, bring that up even higher. Because Edie's not gonna come all the way up to show on that.
No, that's a good point. That's something I learned with towards the tail end of my NBA career. Explained in a much better way was by Steve Nash. Like, that was the first team that I really saw a lot of pick and rolls almost to half court. Because he was such a good ball handler, you didn't want to give him a full head of steam, so you'd have to pick him up. And then Steve was like, I want my pick and roll up as high on the floor as possible, because if the big doesn't come out, I got a full head of steam going at the big. Now if the big's at the point of the screen, he's like, there's no big that can stay in front of me. And I looked at him, I was like, it's a great way to point it.
And if you think about like you and even like Cal Bankhead on play, like if you raise your eyebrows, so you came off of that screen and you're coming downhill and you raise your eyebrows, what's that big gonna do?
You gotta respect shot,
because you gotta respect that shot, right? And Steve Nash, one of the best ever at that, right? Just look up at the rim. They think you're shooting it, right? I tell you when I was guarding you guys in practice, I don't care what you look at, right? Because you were such a good, you would sell it. You would sell a lot of your moves, and I talked to Bankhead about that later. Like, dude, every time you catch the ball, everyone's jumping at you because you're such a good shooter. So when I started coaching my little youth groups, I had some really good players and really good shooters. I tell them, don't extend your ball too high on your ball fake. Right? Don't get out of your stance on your ball fake. Just look up at the rim. Because a lot of kids are going to know, you can shoot the ball. So
I think that's something. I think that's something Hickman has gotten better at from this year from last year to this. Is in pick and rolls. He had a hesitate left hand inside out about 5-6 minutes earlier in this game against Edie, where he brought his eyes up on the rim, just like you're talking about, and it just shifted Edie just enough. Made him pause, and then it's one more step into a floater game. No, that's a great point. Just the eyes can sell so many things, whether it's shot or whether it's pass or whether it's attack. And as a point guard, if you can do all three of those things with selling it with your eyes, you've got an advantage. So you guys were in the Maui Invitational. When we were in Alaska that year before, we wanted to get the heck out because it was cold. There was like 2 hours of daylight. Coach Field, you guys stick around an extra day. What'd you do?
And make sure these stories are kind of edited or G-rated. But Tony almost drowned.
What?
Tony Skinner almost drowned.
Did he know how to swim?
I'm still questioning that now. So Tony jumps into the ocean with the what do you call those things you put on your feet? Flippers or whatever. He jumped into the ocean with those in his hand. I don't know what he was thinking. So I'm over on like the sand, and I'm looking out, and I see this kid. I'm like, wait a minute, is that Tony out there? And he's just hitting the water, laughing like literally about to drown. So this old lady, white hair, one piece. It's kind of like she has a surfboard. She kind of just pushes it over to Tony. And he flops on there. Tony, what are you doing? And he's like, I didn't want to drop the flippers because I had to pay for them.
Gonzaga player drowns in Maui. He didn't want to lose flippers.
And I was like, wow. So, no, but we had a good time out there. We didn't win. We beat Utah that year, but we lost to Kentucky with Keith Bogans. That group, they had a monster squad. And who else? We had one more team that we lost to, but the experience was great. I think that was the first time the GU was in the Maui. So just going over to Hawaii, playing, being able to walk on the beach, hang out at the hotel. We had some good times up there. But obviously we came home 1-2 or 1-3 or whatever it was, and that didn't sit too well. So we were in the gym the day of we got back running and running and running. So
Well, we take a look at the box score here. Gonzaga's up 30-23, little under 4 minutes left in the first half. I think they've done a pretty nice job on Zach Edey. He's only got 8 points, 1 rebound, 3 of 9 from the field. Braden Smith has been a problem, though. He's got 8 points, 4 of 4 from the field. Only 1 assist. He's averaging over 8 assists a game right now. He's a really good player. But then for Gonzaga, Graham Ike, 10 points, 4 of 5 from the field. And then Nemhart and Hickman, both with 7 points.
Ike, I keep calling him Ike, but yeah, Ike is doing a really good job. If, Zach Edey is potentially National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I know 8 points doesn't seem like a lot right now, but you watch some of the other games, and he's probably at 17 right now. 6 rebounds and 4 blocks. So they're doing a great job with him right now.
Well, the nice thing this year's team, as opposed to last year when they played him in the PK 85 in Portland, you got 3 legit bigs in EK, Huff, and Greg that can guard him. And then Anton is so smart that he can have minutes on him too.
Anton, I've known that family for a long time. Dion's my guy, big fella from Mississippi. His brother, I coached his sister, AAU. Anton, I wish Anton would light a fire, right, and just go all out. Yeah, he's smart, but you know how much dominant he can be if he just had the Ronnie Terry. You remember Ronnie used to dunk with his big fro, and he would just go crazy, and that would just change the trajectory of the game for the most times. Right?
I remember Ronnie early in his career, his freshman year, he wouldn't dunk because it hurt his hands.
Yeah.
And then finally, guys talked him in. Yeah, you were talking about Stromer. You liked his potential. You think he's going to be a great player. That time you see the shooting touch. Ball just hangs up on the rim. 6 or 7 bounces before it goes in. But, Ronnie wouldn't dunk early in his career. Guys had to talk him into it. I think it was Corey Violette. It was like, dude, just dunk the ball.
Yeah, and just that energy. I mean, he would block a shot. That would set us off on the transition. Ronnie be dancing with the crowd while we're still playing.
Yes.
Right? It's like that's what I mean with Anton. I know his personality isn't that, but sometimes you gotta fake it. Right? Yeah. You have to fake it and just go, I'm going to be a madman out here today.
Yep.
I can go back to being quiet, reserved, don't want to talk to anyone after the game's over. But when you get in between those lines, something has to switch for you right now. So,
you've been around the program for a long time. I think Ben Gregg has done as good a job as I can remember in recent years of as highly touted as he was coming in. He graduated high school early during the COVID year so that he could get on campus and then just earning his way. Now I think the average fan undervalues what he does, but he does so many things that are of importance to winning games.
Yes.
Do you see that in Ben, and then maybe look back to another Zag that kind of over the years was maybe undervalued, underrated, just as far as the impact that they had?
My number one underrated, undervalued guy is my man Zach Gord.
Yes.
Zach was super undervalued, right? He would do, like Ben Gregg. He's not going to be the man on the team this year, but he's going to be a big part to it.
Yeah.
But we as the average fans don't see that part consistently, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Zach was the same way. Zach played with Corey Violette, who was, the big man from Boise when he got here. Richard Fox. We had. Can you imagine the bigs that we had? Zach Gord, Ronnie Terryoff, Corey Violette, and Richard Fox. So Zach took the back seat sometimes to those guys and going, all right, Ronnie, you go. This is going to be your your game or whatever. And he kind of nurtured Violette as well.
Yeah.
That guy, Zach is very underrated, was undervalued, even though we liked him.
Yeah.
I think the average fan didn't appreciate what he did.
Yeah, he was very good at a lot of things, and I grew up. I played high school with him, so Zach and I had an instant connection here at Gonzaga because we had played together for so long. Pick and roll wise, he was unbelievable. He knew when to turn an angle. He knew when to hold a screen. He was just dirty enough where he would give a guy a knee, or he would just hold him long enough. And then like he'd give that look to the official like, huh, what? I wouldn't do that. You know that there's so many guys that have to understand the little game behind the game is, 1 minute left in this half, 3-point game. This is important for Gonzaga to, I thought they were close to breaking out to about a 10-point game, and then Purdue's kind of hung in there.
And Ben should rip that ball right now and go at Edey. That's a great pass by Nolan. Great cut by Stromer.
Yeah.
But, Edey, he's going to be effective unless you make him not. So Ben Gregg is actually a really good dribbler. So ripped it at the top of the key there, because the reason why Edey is standing at the 3-point line is because they know he can shoot it.
Yep.
Now you put the ball on the floor, maybe you draw a foul or two, and now he's out the game, right? And I know, a few is telling those guys whatever to do, and don't break that rule. Don't do that one. So, but that's, the floor is spaced so well that Ben can literally rip through and beat them to the basket. That's a great cut, though. Great pass.
Yeah, you go back. We're watching that replay of the Stromer cut, the Hickman pass. I think that's one of the things that, as a young player, like Stromer came in out of the LA area, really highly ranked, evaluated, however you want to call it. But he's impressed me because he's bought into doing the little things. Like, he goes to the offensive glass. That last cut that we saw where, some guys would just hang out at the 3-point line wanting the ball. He's found ways to impact the game without having the ball in his hands, which is hard to do as a young player.
I had never heard of him prior to, because you're on this. You do a lot of televised games, right? You get to hear about the high school players and where they come from and what they do. So my first experience of being able to see them is like right now, like the game.
The Yale game
you and Big Fox did in Heister,
Eastern Oregon. That give us a break. That was a 60-point blowout.
Yeah, so I didn't really watch that game. Is what I mean, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't even let my kids watch that game.
Yeah.
Coaches would tell kids, "Hey, watch this GU game tonight." And no, we're gonna watch Kentucky and Kansas.
That was a good game.
Because we want to see. I want them to know what the competition's like. So this is really my first time of seeing these guys right now, and Stroman's impressed me. That's what I mean right there, Nolan. Now, not a good shot. Well, good shot for him.
Edey's he'll make that.
Edey's so big, right?
Yeah.
But that's what they need to do is just put pressure on him now. Up 5 at the half, though.
Yeah, 35-30 going into the half. I mean, we've both been in this locker room with Coach Few where you probably are looking at 5-point lead. We probably could be up 10 or 12 if we clean a few things up. What do you think Coach Few's message is?
Well, Edey, let's see what he says. So
there's always a silver lining with his comments.
So Edey probably, what is he at, 12 points now or 14? I would say 6 of them came from the free throw line.
Yeah, he's got 15 points. He's only 4 of 11 from the field. So
they're doing a good job with him. Keep the pace up, keep pushing the pace. And Coach Few right now he's probably saying something like, "You guys make me." No, I'm just kidding. He go, we're doing a great job. Edey's going to have to score. We're not going to let the others beat us right now. That's probably what he's saying. No one's going to stop Edey right now, like one-on-one. Right?
Yeah.
So not to let him score, make his touches tougher, make him shoot it over you, but we're not going to let the others beat us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, you're exactly right. I mean, Braden Smith, who's their second leading scorer on the year, is having a good game. But outside of Edey and Smith, they have 23 of their 30 points. Fletcher Lawyer, a sophomore guard, he's 0 of 2 from the field. He's one of their best shooters. So, Gonzaga, I think, agreed. They've done a nice job of kind of daring others to beat them, and they haven't been that successful with it just yet. Yeah. So we're at halftime now. how did you get to Gonzaga? Because I know you're from Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. I know you were at NIC, but how did you go from Richmond to NIC from high school, and were there any other stops in between? Because I can't imagine growing up in Virginia, you were like, I want to play for Gonzaga, or I want to go to NIC. How did that happen?
So, I didn't know how to, let me see how to explain this. So I went to high school for 5 years.
Okay.
I got recommended for, expulsion, expelled, because I was doing some things I shouldn't have as a kid, getting into a couple fights or whatever. So I literally only played 1 year high school ball.
Really?
Yeah, that was my junior year of high school. My junior year of high school, which was really my senior year. So I went and played in the Adidas big time tournament in Vegas.
Okay.
Excuse me. So I was a really good scorer, really good passer. Magic Johnson was my favorite player, like growing up. Only guy on the East Coast to just love Magic Johnson, right?
Yeah. How do you become a Magic fan on the East Coast?
Showtime.
Oh my gosh.
I was just looking at this stuff like, man, I could do that, right? Not as big as him, but I like my joy came from getting others points, right? So I went to the Adidas Big Time Tournament. I just looked this up the other day. I averaged 16 points and 11 assists in this tournament, and I became one of the elite recruits on the website. Mm-hmm. So I was getting calls. This is when the coaches were calling the hotels at the time from everybody. Like kid, they've never seen this kid. Like this kid just popped up out of nowhere. So everyone's like, let me be the first to do it, right? So talking to my AU coach Tony Squire, like, man, all right, let's go see some of these schools, whatever the case is. And he goes, well, we got to go back and make sure your grades are good, right? Because these are all big time schools. Virginia Tech, Clemson, Gary Williams at Maryland, all these schools.
That had to have been a school, really, because Maryland was great at the time.
At the time? Yeah. Oh, man. Juan Dixon, all those guys, they were amazing. So we go back to Richmond and check my grades, and they were nowhere near Division I eligible.
Okay.
Right? So I had to go the JUCO route. The first two schools I couldn't go because at the time California and Florida didn't pay full tuition for out-of-staters. Brevard County was one in Cali, and there was one in Florida. So that one was in Florida. So
yeah.
I ended up going to Independence, Kansas, to Independence Community College. That's where I started at. I redshirted that year. I left there at the semester, and I ended up in Big Springs, Texas at Howard Community College.
Okay.
So that first year was Independence and Howard. 1 year redshirt across. Ended up playing at Howard the next year. Became a top 25 freshman in Texas. Being recruited by UTEP, a lot of those Texas schools. And then the assistant coach, it was so hot in West Texas. It was like 130 degrees every day. Right? And
wasn't for you.
And my coach would make us run. We had these two big fans, industrial size fans in the gym, one down each end. And if anyone ever got close to that fan, like you ran and you leaned over, you go, turn that fan off. We were like, wait a minute, it's too hot in here, right? So the assistant coach ended up going to North Idaho from Howard. And he called me and two other players like, hey, you guys should come up here to North Idaho. And I go, I'm not going to Idaho. Like, no way I'm going to Idaho. But then he sent the outline of the NIC campus with the lake and everything.
The lake, yeah.
And we were like, man, do we go up there or do we sit out here and just just be hot every day? So we took the trip up here to North Idaho, went through summer school, and then I started coming to Gonzaga playing open gym with guys.
Yeah.
Well, one day I came to open gym, Zach Gord was in there, and I was just doing my thing, and Zach goes, man, where do you play at? And I go, at North Idaho. Like, I don't even know how far North Idaho was from here at the time. He was like, really? He goes, are you gonna come back? Like, it was like next week. You come back next week or something? I go, yeah, I'll come back. I didn't know Zach was on the team.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Gonzaga at all. I never even heard about this place, right? I was one of the people calling me Gonzaga when I first heard about it, right? So I came back and he had Leon Rice in the gym, open gym, and he was like, "We might want to go watch this kid."
Yeah.
Right. So they started coming over to North Idaho to my games, and a few came over one time, and it was Coach Greer came over one night, and I had the worst game of my life.
Coach Greer?
Coach Greer. I had the worst game of my life. I think I had like 8 turnovers. I missed every shot. We lost the game. And I looked up at Coach Greer and I go, that will not happen again, right? I was that way with myself. And I had nearly a triple-double the next game, like 2 days later. And I was like, yeah, I told you that's not going to happen. And at that time, they were like, yeah, let's give this kid a shot, right?
Yeah.
So, funny, what happened, signing season came, or signing period or whatever, Virginia Commonwealth, because that's in my hometown.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's right by home.
Yeah. They flew out here. Mike Jarvis was calling, because he had Marcus Haddon in Florida. Mm-hmm. He wanted us to come there together to do the 2-guard thing. And there was a couple others. But it came really down to Gonzaga, VCU, St. John's. And I go, man, being in North Idaho, you see, the Casey Cavalry games. Mm-hmm. You get to see, those teams. And like, these guys are on ESPN all the time. Now, I can tell you, I wasn't the brightest guy because it goes by the region at that time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, these guys on ESPN all the time. I want to be on ESPN. Like, all right, let's go to Gonzaga. So that's how I ended up coming here. Yeah. Zach Gord was the first person to
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I remember you coming to Open Gym a lot once we started recruiting you.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, God dang, I hate going against him because he's going to lock you up. He's going to attack you on the dribble. He's a big, strong guard. And you were fiery. You played with a lot of competitiveness. I think that's something that Coach Few and the rest of the staff has always done such a good job of looking at guys and be like, I can go into a big-time atmosphere in a big game, and I want that guy on my side. And I think you fit that profile.
There were a couple others. Alex Hernandez.
Yes, 100%. And Train. Anthony Reason.
But Alex, Alex is going to give you 8 fouls, 16 points.
Well, because he was like, they can only call me for 5, so I'm going to give him as many as I can. Yeah.
But you had those guys, and I think we took that role sometimes as, you're not going to hit Dan, right? Like, you're not going to, because kids know when they can get after someone else, right? Yeah. And we're like, nah, yeah, hit them again and see what happens, right? And I think some of those big guys, Zach was big at that too, right? You hit my man Dan, you got to come down this key here next time, right? It was funny how Zach had a broken nose every 2 weeks. Like
he did. He did.
Like every 2 weeks. Like, how's your nose broken, bro? Like, did you get it fixed the first time? Like, but we did take that almost role of the enforcers, even though I'm not 6'8", 300.
Yeah.
I can get under your skin though, right? And that's what we were like. Okay, let's do this, right? So it was fun. Those days were super fun. We don't think about it until we're done, and we try to get our kids, like your kids right now, to be in the moment, right? Because when you become our age, you're going to wish you did something different, right? And I think that's the benefit of having Dan as a dad, having me as a dad, having these other players as dads. Is we've been to some really good places, right? And that was as much as I wish I would have went to St. John's at the time. I had so much fun at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I've built my life here, right? I don't know if that would have happened anywhere else.
Sure.
If I would have built a life there, but I have nothing but good memories besides Coach Few. He's gonna look at this and like get after me.
Yeah, but it's funny though because every player and coach, regardless if it's an assistant or a head coach, there's kind of an evolution to that relationship and that kind of, I can't say it's a respect level, but just the communication and then how it evolves. Yeah. Right. I mean, there's other players that I've played with in other stops that they couldn't stand a coach. I liked him. There's other ones that I couldn't stand that coach. They got along great with him. But I think the thing with Coach Few is guys go to bat for him.
Oh,
they play so unbelievably hard. They trust. You're going to get your occasional transfers because I should have been playing more, this, that, and the other. But I think he's given as many guys a fair shot to earn their way into rotations as anybody I've seen across college basketball.
No, he does it. Even like now, even more, he's playing. I think 1 year he was almost at an 8 or 9 man rotation, right? Because he wants to give everyone a chance at times. I think it was just my upbringing and some of the other players' upbringing that you can't say these things to me.
Gotcha.
Right, and I think that's where the rift was. It wasn't about playing or anything. It's like, you can't say these things to me because that's not how we talk to each other. If that makes sense. Now, like I said, even like literally right after I was done, we were buddies because I didn't have to deal with anything, on the court with him, right? And just as well, like you were just alluding to, there's some coaches that say things that's like, whoa, like, you shouldn't be saying those things, right? Like, as much as you're trying to motivate someone, as much as you're trying to get the best out of them, you can kind of damage that a little bit by the way you say things. Right? Because the way you hear it and the way I hear it are two different things.
Could be.
And
so let's talk about like the evolution of how Gonzaga's played, because we ran a lot of flex.
Yes.
And when we ran some motion, very few pick and rolls, high lows, that Carolina-Kansas transition with the back screen, lob over the top to Casey or Corey Violet or Roney. Now it's free-flowing with pick and rolls, dribble handoffs, tons of spacing.
So I said that about Coach Few a long time ago is, man, you got to open up the game a little bit for them, right? But every coach, like I said, it was his second year that I was there. Every coach learns, at a different clip, right? This works, this don't work, and I'm going to try to massage this thing to make it, fit. And I think I voiced that to he or Leon one day. It's like, dude, you brought Alex Hernandez in here, who was a Nevada Player of the Year. You brought Anthony Reason, who was a jump out the gym guy. Right?
Unbelievable athlete.
Earl Knight, myself. We didn't do a lot of structured things as we were growing up, right? So now you put me in flex, and it's like,
it's a robotic offense.
I was just watching Magic Johnson last night, right? I don't want to be in flex. So over time, I think Coach Few has figured that out. Like, man, I got this 5-star athlete coming from Alaska or wherever the kid's coming from. I'm not going to put him in flex, right? I'm going to let them play. Now, as much as you scored in flex, you would have scored a lot more playing the way they play right now.
Yeah, pick and rolls, dribble handoffs, spacing.
And you were All-American, right? You would have been the #1 draft pick because you could shoot the ball. Just imagine if this system right now is what you played in, right?
Yeah, Adam and I have talked about that because I think Adam, he led the country in scoring or first, second, whatever it was with J.J. Redick. But he would have been off dribble handoffs.
Yeah.
And he could read a screen or manipulate a screen like no other. You just see the evolution of coaching from him, from Tommy, Leon, all these guys. They kind of just grew it up together, and I think he's continued to tweak everything where I don't know if I see a better offensive attack than what Gonzaga has right now. And I know that's covering 300-some schools in college basketball, but we're watching Purdue right now. Purdue runs a lot of sets because they want Edey to have the ball.
Yeah.
Some other teams will run some actions where they want to keep the ball in one or two players' hands. Where Gonzaga, everybody touches it, everybody has spacing, everybody is put in a position where they typically are going to have an opportunity or advantage on a possession.
Yeah, and that's why I saw a stat the other day. That's why there are 1 of 3 schools that's won 20-plus games over the last 14 years.
Yeah.
There's only been 3 schools that's done that, and Gonzaga's one of them.
Yeah.
Right, because he's allowed that where your scouting report can say we have to stop, Nembhard, but now you still got to deal with the other 4, even 2 that come off the bench. That you're going to have a plethora of players out there scoring. So just being able to move it, touch it. There's, who'd you play? Where'd you play at in the NBA?
Where didn't I play? It seemed like I was on a new team every other month. Got traded so many times.
But there's been players on those teams where the coaches is like, that player never touched the ball on the offensive end, right? Because we don't want it to be a turnover or that shot or whatever the case is, right? Every last one of these guys touched the ball.
And that goes back to, they evaluate so well and then they develop so well once you get on campus to take your skill set, mold it, but then go with your strengths to help put them into a position where you can have success and the team can have some success so well. So we watched the first half together. Nemhart Hickman didn't shoot great from the perimeter in the first half, but I thought they controlled the pace of the game. Anton was 0 of 5 in the first half, though. What do you want to see from him in the second?
I need that fire from him, right? Like he should step out a little bit. Mm-hmm. He has that ability as well. He has the ability to drive it. But even that, that mundane look, just get rid of that. Just go play. Go crash the boards. Go get an over the back foul, right? Do something where you're going to be involved in the game, mm-hmm. right? Love the kid. I just think at times he don't have that where he's gonna just try to take over. Like I said, we played with some of the best big men in this program, right? And every last one of them at some point has taken over the game.
So you've been around Spokane for a little while. I've been in Spokane now for about 11 years. Anton and Tyson Degenhart, who plays for Leon and Boise State, are the two best high school players that I've seen in this area in the last 10, 11 years. Anton would play with us in John Stockton's Sunday warehouse runs, even when he was like 7th, 8th grade. Yeah. And you could see the potential, mm-hmm. but you also saw that kind of hesitancy, that kind of let other guys take the lead, take charge. That's, I think, what you're talking about, right?
Yes, and even like John, Mr. Stockton.
Mr. Stockton?
Mr. Stockton. That's so he won't foul me next week.
Okay.
But even John has tried to bring that fire out of him. Even at the warehouse, he tries to get him to, just go harder, right, and not just be the dude on the court, because he has that ability. Now, there's players that and that you've coached that they don't have it in them, so you want to ask that of them, right? You wouldn't ask them to do certain things if they didn't have it. And he has that fire. He just hasn't lit it. And right now,
this has been a good start to the second half for Purdue. Yeah. I mean, they've got a couple good finishes. Turnover there on the pocket pass, the mid pick and roll from Hickman trying to find Ike, but they dodged a bullet in the last possession, didn't get back and matched up in defensive transition. We're watching this game and the sound's a little bit down. People that are watching us kind of with that second screen experience. Billis is one of the best, I think, about explaining the game. Do you enjoy listening to Billis, or is there, besides Richard Fox, who's probably your favorite, is there an analyst that you like to listen to?
Not particular. I talk to my kids about when you watch these games to listen to the commentators as well, because you learn a lot from them. Mm-hmm. It's not just what you see on the court of Nemhart or someone, or whatever the case is, getting a dunk or whatever. I want you to listen to what they're saying. Billis does a great job at picking out those finer points. Mm-hmm. I don't think. I'm trying to think of who else. Dan Dickau, when he's doing the Mountain West games. Is it Mountain West?
Yeah, I do a lot of Mountain West games for CBS Sports. Yeah, it's hard with Greg and Richard because we never get close games. We get the ones that you alluded to, where like Eastern Oregon, it's a 60-point win.
And then we already know about fishing.
Yeah. Greg, if you're watching this, Winston and I both want to go fishing one of these days.
Oh man!
Have you ever been fishing? Are you a fisherman?
No. I've been fishing one time. Okay. One of my work partners, Scotty, I call him, took me on a sturgeon fishing adventure one day, and we were out on the boat for so long, just waiting. I was like, "Is this what fishermen do? Do you actually catch any fish? So we did get a good bite on a big old sturgeon. I never knew anything about fishing. I've never really fished before.
Yeah.
And I got some blood on my LeBrons, and I go, that's my last time going fishing. I'll never go fishing again. So, now I know Heiser and Coach Few are big fishermen.
Yeah,
fly fishermen.
They fish a lot.
Yeah.
There you see Purdue knocks down a 3 to tie it at 39. This is not the start Gonzaga would have wanted to see here in the second half.
Is that my man Stromer? Okay.
Yeah, 2 missed threes to start the second half from him, but and Greg checked in pretty quickly for Anton here in the second half. We'll have to look at the box score and see if it's foul trouble for Anton or if it's
I don't know if
matchup
it's
wise.
I think it's just that low key energy right there.
Well, it would be hard to play with energy in Hawaii. I mean, if I'm in Hawaii, I'm thinking like, hey, I want to go sit on the beach. I want to go do something.
No, you weren't. You were a gamer. You wouldn't even think of any of that other stuff.
Yeah, Anton does have 3 fouls. So, 3 fouls.
But as a senior, do you let him play though?
Yeah, but it's so early in the second half. I think that's the right call. Plus, Ben Gregg's been solid, I think, in this game. He's only got 2 points, but defensively, he's made things difficult at times for Edie. And we say it difficult at times. If you look at Edie's still got, 15 points? But Edie makes
look at my boy
life
Stromer right
difficult
there.
for everybody. Yeah, I tell you what, I've likened Stromer to kind of Kispert and Fromm. I think he's got more of a body of Richie Fromm, like athletically as he grows into it, like length. But I think Kispert, because as a freshman, he's going to play a lot of minutes like Corey did.
Yeah. What a good move. Should have been a foul.
Should have been. That would have been on Edie. That would have been. Edie doesn't even have a single foul. I guess. A lot of times when you play drop coverage, which is essentially, he plays low on the opponent setting a high pick and roll. He plays deep in the key and kind of lets everything get funneled to him.
Yeah.
You're not put in positions to get a foul, but great steal, from Hickman.
Keep it. Nice. When you dig down on Edie, that ball takes a long time to come back up to his hand because he's so big,
sure.
right? So if you can stunt on those and go for those digs, you're gonna get 1 or 2 of them. That's
a tremendous steal there from Hickman. Just like you said, kind of timing it up. It's funny, like the basketball world is so small. College, NBA, etc. The lawyer kid, Fletcher Lawyer, his dad was a coach in the NBA for me. He was an assistant coach with the Blazers, John Lawyer. He was an interim head coach with the Pistons for a while. Tremendous guy. And then obviously his older brother played at Michigan State and Davidson, and now he's having a great career at Purdue. It's crazy how all these players and teams are intertwined. When you go back to thinking about when you were growing up in Richmond and that AAU team you talked about when you went to Vegas, any of those players kind of go on to play at a high level like yourself?
Oh yeah, it was a hotbed back then. We had Chris Moss played at West Virginia. Jonathan Sally played at West Virginia. I mean, there's a lot of guys that was going to big schools, over that from Richmond, from the city and out. It was just athletes all over the place.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, Allen Iverson, Michael Vick, David Terrell.
Where Iverson was Newport News? How far from Richmond is that?
Like an hour and a half.
Okay.
I mean, everyone was so close. We had been. You remember Johnny Newman?
Yeah.
Playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
So he's having a summer league back home for
Okay.
us. So myself, Chucky Atkins, Ben Wallace, AI.
You played against AI in
guys.
summer league?
All these guys.
You played against him in summer league?
Every summer.
How good was he in that? Because
was
I played
super
against him in the NBA, and those were like some of the times I felt most useless on the court.
Has there been a kid from the Tacoma area that didn't get a chance that was better than Dan Dickau?
Probably.
Yeah, right. Allen Iverson wasn't the best player back home.
Really?
We had.
He had off-court issues, and he was a football guy too.
But he wasn't the best basketball player. We had the Hargett brothers
Okay.
were the best, and Bubba would destroy Allen.
Really?
Destroy Allen. But they got into so much stuff that they never even had the opportunity to go to school. There's a big article right now on, you can look it up, about his little brother, Jonathan Hargett. He was the best player at 5'10" that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really?
This guy, we were at an AAU tournament one time, and he crossed a guy up at the top of the key, threw it off the backboard. Everyone's looking like he's gonna get a shot. He just comes and dunks it on everything. And we're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, something new at the time.
Getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. I'm like, wait a minute, right? Like, that doesn't happen at our size, right? So there was some good guys that played, that went on to a lot of different places.
What was Harden, you said his last name?
Hargett.
Hargett.
Hargett. Jonathan, first name. He amazing player. There's a lot of pros like Kevin Durant or some other guys that be like, that's the best player we've ever seen.
Really?
And he never made it because he went to prison.
Wow. Like,
best player, hands down, he was the best player in my years back home. He was strong. He was built. He was like, you know who he reminded me of, or who reminds me of him? Is Jeremy Pargo.
Really? Big, strong, athletic player, competes like crazy.
Can dunk on you at,
Oh, nice move
shoot
from
it.
Hickman.
I miss Jeremy Pargo. Jeremy Pargo was a weapon.
Yeah, like, and that's one of those things where, as the game slowed down for him, and this is true with any player, as the game slows down, you get better. Yeah, tremendous. Like, how do you block him out? But as the game slowed down for Jeremy, because of experience, like, he was a better pro than he was in college.
Yes.
Jeremy was.
Yes.
Because I think he finally had enough experience where he put it all together. He's still playing pro right now, Jeremy. Mm-hmm. G League Ignite.
Yep.
I mean, he's got to be.
He's about
38.
38, yeah. So
I think he'd be a great coach.
So I played Jeremy. I played against Jeremy when he first came here. I don't know what we called it, but we had this little scrimmage when the new kids were coming in, and it was his first time in Spokane, and I gave Jeremy the business, right? And Jeremy was like, "No way." I was like, "Yeah, what you saw at Gonzaga isn't what I do, right? Like, I can really play." And from that moment, I think that was his first time being here. From that moment, he and I bond, and Derek Ravio we just grew because I would go into the gym with them every night and just work with them. Yeah. And Ravio, that kid was so quick.
Yeah, he was a worker too.
But he had to have his rhythm dribble to get him going. So I was teaching him how. He was like, "How are you doing this?" And I go, "Because I'm timing your rhythm right now because I know that's what you need." Yeah. Right. And that kid he excelled so fast too. Ravio is to be, 6'2", 90 pounds. He was really good. Yeah. Right? Really, really tough kid. He
was as skilled as they get. I think he is another guy who, in the current offensive kind of attack, would have been better than he was in the way they used to play.
Absolutely. He can shoot it. He can dribble. He can drive it past you. He had really good vision on his passes. He had the total package too. Defense could have been better. Yeah. But everyone has a flaw somewhere.
Gonzaga's kind of stuck in that spot now where they haven't looked great offensively in the second half. Purdue's now up 3. Looks like Gonzaga's calling a timeout, but it seems as if in the second half they've kind of been hanging out at that 3-point line. Ben Gregg just missed a 3 on the previous possession. You get lost in transition, not getting matched up. You can't give up easy buckets to Purdue.
No, and the game is about runs at times. Purdue's making a little run right now, and you see that emotion that those kids are showing right now. That's what I want to see from Anton.
For the Purdue players.
For Purdue players. Yes. That's what I want to see from Anton. Is the screaming, not at anyone in particular, but just let this come out, right?
And it's not and a lot of fans get the emotion twisted, so to speak. Like, they think of negative emotion. Yeah. Like, no, there's a positive way to express your emotions, channel your emotions, and bring energy to yourself and your teammate.
Yes.
Ronnie was the best at it I've ever
Absolutely.
seen in his Gonzaga uniform.
Absolutely. Just especially when he let his hair out, right?
Yes.
I mean, seriously, like
Yeah.
he had the long braids and all that stuff, but when he let his hair out, he was different. He was like
Yeah.
he was like a lion, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude, I'm like, we know what we're gonna get from Ronnie.
Yeah.
We know what we're gonna get from Ronnie tonight. Like the rest of us, you know, we'll figure it out, but we know what we're gonna get from him. He's gonna block a couple shots. He's gonna get a bunch of rebounds. I mean, he'll put back a couple baskets, right? Like he wasn't a shooter like he developed to be.
Yeah.
Right. But
Well, in the pros, he developed that great 18-foot
Yeah.
kind of trail, run into it, catch and shoot.
yeah, but we knew Ronnie when you can look at Ronnie and be like, this is gonna be a good night.
He's
for
ready
him.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I really appreciate that about him.
Have you stayed in touch with Ronnie at all? Because Ronnie's one of those guys where he probably has changed his cell phone number 10 times in the last 5 years. And so you're like hoping you somehow got connected to it. But he was in town last year, and nobody knew until the day before. And I saw him after the game because he's walking across, and we catch eyes. I was like, talked for him a couple minutes. I was like, how long are you in town? He's like, oh, I just flew in earlier today, and I'm out tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like, where are you going next? He's a world traveler.
So Ronnie's like I call him my big little brother,
Okay.
obviously because he's so big. So we talk often.
Okay, so you still have his...
I know when he's coming in.
Gotcha.
Right? And
Well, I know B. Mike knows because
yeah,
they're
so it's only
tight.
two of us.
Yeah.
That's B. Mike and myself, right?
The inner circle.
So, like when my son was born recently, he
Yeah.
came
Cool.
to hang out with him. And there's a couple of Zags that only two, Ronnie and Triana Allen. You remember Tree?
Yeah, she's a lawyer
So
now,
she's
right?
like my sister.
Okay.
So I call him my big little brother.
Yeah.
You know, so we communicate a lot. We talk a lot. When they come into town, they come over to the house. But Ronnie he does that. Ronnie will call me or send me a message. Hey, what are you doing? Are you working next week? I'm like, yep, I work Monday. Okay, I'll be there Sunday night. I just told you I work Monday. Like, so I got to go pick him up from the airport and do all the other stuff. But he's living a great life, right? Like he travels. He's a part of the NBA Europe, I think, still.
Yeah, he's like an ambassador for the NBA world or whatever it's called. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's done well with his money. He doesn't need for anything. He wants for anything. He take care of his mom, his sisters. He's doing good, really good. So.
I think that's one of the cool things about Gonzaga's program is they don't come up with a loose ball. It's a jump ball. We'll see what the official who they give it to, but Gonzaga players are from all across the country. They're from all across the world. Yet there's this bond that guys like. You could go 6 months without talking to each other.
Yes.
Like you and I ran into each other at the gym like a month ago.
Yeah.
We talked on the phone. I said, "Hey, Winston, can you join me for this? I think it'd be a lot of fun to us to talk basketball, talk life." Hey, you're here. And it's like we didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
It would be the same way if Alex was in here or if Ronnie came into town. It's pretty amazing.
Every player, and I was thinking about that. It's funny you made that point about Watson playing at prep. So I was telling someone the other day that there's only been maybe 1, 2, a handful of players that's from Spokane that actually plays here or played here, right? Because everyone else is from everywhere else,
Yeah.
and you create that. This town, Spokane, does it for you where it's a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
And we get to see each other. We go to the games. There's no other professional sports here, so I end up running into Dan at a game, or running into Zach Gord, or I ran into Richie Fromm the other day at the mall. Right? It's like I haven't seen Richie in 8 years, I think.
Is that long?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And we just struck up a conversation right away.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, how you doing? It's that's how it is, and you have your close knit ones like Tony. I won't tell any more stories about Tony drowning. But Tony's my guy. Tony, I talk to Tony almost every day.
Yeah.
That's my guy. So.
And Gonzaga just got beat on a backdoor lob over the top. Purdue starting to pull away with it, but EK, nice little jump hook on the low block. That's one of the other things. I know I run a gym. I own a gym in town called Shoot 360 to kind of help teach a lot of the kids in town. Tony's involved with a gym of his own. You coach AAU. Adam Morrison coaches AAU. Like, guys also, one of the ways that we compete against each other now is coaching our kids against each other.
Yes.
It's pretty cool that, you know, all of us are trying to help the next round of players in Spokane.
Yeah, we were in the gym at the warehouse recently. Corey Vallette, myself, Tony Skinner, Blake Stepp, Brian Michelson, all of us were in the same, like, at the same court. We were like, man, like, time has just gone by, right? All of us have kids, and everyone's still around. We have good, you know, there's some schools that say their players are still tight.
Yeah.
Because they want to, you know, get their recruiting and do all this stuff, but the Zag way and the way we've done it here has been the best way. Even all the way back to, like, John Stockton, right? He does a lot with even the current guys, like playing in the summer times or whatever, or hanging out, you know, going to hang out at his house. And his wife Nada, if you're watching this, those potatoes she make,
is that right?
Man, they're some of the best ever. So even all the way back to John, right? It's like, this guy don't have to hang around Spokane, deal with us, and, you know, but that's how the program has been. And
speak of the impact of John, because, like, he set the bar so high for any future Gonzaga player as being one of the best point guards ever.
Yeah.
Skill-wise, commitment to winning, doing things the right way. It's almost like there's this quiet tone that he's set that everybody tries to live up to.
You know, I was mad at John when I first started here.
Really?
Yeah, because he would never play against me.
Really?
He always put me on his team.
Oh, well, that's a compliment,
And I was
too.
like, no, I don't want to be on your team.
Yeah.
Like, I want to play against a 20-year NBA, you know, one of the greatest point guards of all time. But he always put me on his team. And I'm like, why? It's like, no, like, I just twisted my ankle. I'm done. Because I don't want to be on his team.
Yeah.
Right? I want to play against him, right? You remember we had guys like Ainge and those guys come in and play? Like, this, what has happened at this place since, you know, that first magical run with Casey and those guys? It's just been crazy. It's and you carried that, like, and we've carried it, and the others have carried it, and just the quality of people that come here, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So I never thought I would be in Spokane. Like, even afterwards.
Yeah. So you went from playing. You coached at Eastern. You're now a cop. You were a cop for 4 years over in Coeur d'Alene. You've been here a cop in Spokane for about 10 years or so now. How did you get into that line of work? And any good stories? I'm sure you got thousands, but any that you come to mind real quick?
So I went over to Germany to go play, and I go, I'm gonna, you know, give it a shot. Which I went over to Dusseldorf. Tyler Amaya is another amazing.
Yeah, he's over on the west side.
And Sean Mallon was on the team.
Okay. 3 Zags on one team in Germany?
I didn't get along with the coach at all. Zero.
Okay.
Like, I was like, okay, I'm too grown, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. So I came back and.
So what you're saying is you weren't coachable?
No,
you said
I
I'm
wouldn't
done.
tell my kids that.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was like, I'm done. So I came back. Before I left, I was saying, where am I going to go to eventually raise a family? Because I didn't, you know, I don't know. I was just moving around, doing some things, and I said that Coeur d'Alene, Spokane, Seattle area has been really nice to me. Super nice. Met some of my greatest friends in this time period that I was in Spokane.
Yeah.
Right. So Owen Strecker, who you know Owen,
Name's familiar.
lives over in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, they did a lot for me as well. You know, the Gees. So I go, I'm just gonna go back to that part.
Yeah.
Right, and see what happens. So I came back and started working at the juvenile center, and then a friend says, man, you're really good with people. You're really good at talking to people. You have a cool demeanor about you. You know, you've been a competitor. You should look at being a police officer. No. I go, Brad, no, he's the chief of Airway Heights now. Brad, no, I'm not doing that. He goes, he used to call me Young Star. Young Star, I'm telling you, you'd be really good. So, long story short, I I eventually listened to him and got into policing 15 years ago, and never thought it would be as fruitful as it has been. It's a great profession. It's not the easiest profession. It's a great profession. This kid is just going downhill on them.
Yeah, offensively, Gonzaga's been pretty stagnant. When they've gone to EK on the low block, Purdue's done a nice job of doubling, getting the ball out of his hands, and then haven't been able to get anything on the second side.
See,
then Hickman breaks him down there.
Even that dunk right there by Anton, and it sounds like I'm picking on the kid, but even that dunk right there.
You picking on him because you care, you know.
Yeah, he should show some emotion right there. He got an N1, and he just catch the ball as it flicks it to the official. Like, how's that play right there would ignite the rest of your teammates?
And it's funny too because he and Drew Timmy were like best friends. And
Timmy
Drew would have dunked it. He would have done every kind of theatric imaginable.
Yeah, but that would get the guys going, right? And I don't think he understands that yet, even though he's 4 years into the program. Someone like I was saying about Stromer. This is why I already like Stromer.
Yeah,
I can see him doing this eventually. Where he's going to be that guy, right? He's going to jump around and get the fans up. He's going to dive on the floor. He's going to do some things that's going to ignite people.
Yeah,
and that was Anton's perfect chance. That kid, number 55 right there, has been going downhill.
Yeah, he's been a problem for Gonzaga here in the second half. And that's one of the things that, if you're going to make someone else beat you, you want somebody to step up. And Purdue's got that so far out of 55. Lawrence Jones, I believe is his name. Lance Jones, sorry.
He's just having a straight line to the basket every time.
When you look at him, he's averaged in double figures the last 3 years. He's kind of gotten off to a slow start here as a senior, but he doesn't get the recognition that the two backcourt sophomores, Smith and Lawyer, have gotten, or Edey obviously. But he's going to be important for Purdue this year. Gonzaga's got to start getting something from beyond the three-point line. Hickman struggled a little bit getting into offense at times tonight, but Gonzaga 6 of 28 from the three-point line. Can't get on track.
Just barely there. He'll get going. Hickman will pick it up here in a second. Like he'll add some more.
One of the things because I saw him play in high school a number of times at Eastside Catholic over in Seattle, and he's nice steal. He initially committed and signed with Kentucky.
Get hurt.
Hopefully he's all right. Looks like he fell off balance, but you got to give him a ton of credit.
So he signed with Kentucky?
He signed with Kentucky. He was a McDonald's All-American. As a freshman, he was playing behind Andrew Nemhart, right?
Yeah.
So it was a perfect understudy year where he could kind of learn. And last year, I thought he had a good sophomore year, but he was really their only ball handler. We talked about it. Gonzaga's best teams have had two ball handlers. As much as I like Rajier Bolton and Malachi Smith, neither one of them were going to be offensive initiators or playmakers and pick and rolls or break down the defense.
Bolton was fast in the end to get a bucket.
Yeah.
But he wasn't, like
he was a Richmond, Virginia guy, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Super fast from end to end. Layups, short, mid-range jump shots. He's a catch-and-shoot guy better.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a ball handler like the way that we think a ball handler is.
So did by chance, I was going to say Richmond, Virginia's been good to the Zags.
We have one that left.
Efton, Reed?
Yeah.
Did you connect with either of those guys last year when they were
Not
here?
Efton. Bolton, I talked to him a lot. I talked to his dad, all those guys.
Yeah.
But Efton, I thought just like we talked about earlier, like you bring Brooks in, Hernandez in, training, you put us in flex, right? Like Efton was more of a, I don't know how to say this, but he should have been more of a run and jump guy. Just that's all you do. Just run, jump, catch lobs, do those things. You can't throw the ball to him on the block, or you couldn't throw the ball to him on the block. And say, we need one right now, right?
play there. I mean, that looked like a travel on the low block from Purdue.
Where's Huff from?
He's from Chicago, just outside Chicago.
Okay.
Glen Ellen.
And what year is he?
He's a redshirt freshman.
Okay.
So he redshirted last year. And that's the crazy thing nowadays. You tell a kid, hey, you're going to redshirt, they're going to be like, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
He realized that he wasn't going to play because of Timmy. He took that year and really made strides. I mean, I saw him in practice last year, and I thought he was good. But you could tell, like, okay, he's got to get a little bit more agile. He's got to work on his strength, his balance, his footwork, all that.
And he was the player of the year.
Yeah, he was the player of the year in Illinois.
And like, just imagine that I'm the player of the year coming to your school and telling me to rich.
Yeah, exactly.
So, great on him, right?
Yeah.
He reminds me of, shoot, I can't think of his name right now. One of our other former players. Not Olenek. It was before Olenek. Yeah, it'll come to me here in a second, but he has the same demeanor as him.
Was it just after us, or?
Yeah, I think it might have been right after Batista. I can't think of it. He reminds me. He walks like him. He's about the same size. God, you're gonna have to make me go to my Rolodex now.
So, one of the greatest, or would have been greatest, Gonzaga players to never get eligible, in my mind, I think you know him well from having played open gym with him and stuff, Mario Kassoun.
Oh man.
When I tell people about Mario, like, people have no idea, like, who? When was this? Like,
Mario.
Unfortunately, we wouldn't have gotten Roney if Mario's scholarship never came available from the NCAA. So it worked out for Gonzaga, but Mario was one of a kind. He was unbelievable.
Never played college and made it to the NBA.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
how good he was.
Yes.
Right. He's. I talk to Mario often still too. 7 foot, I think, or close to it. Great touch.
Yep.
Strong. Can run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fans missed out on him.
He was awesome.
So when I was at North Idaho, when he was trying to get eligible here, they thought he was going to come there.
Okay.
And I was like, yes, right? Yes. And I had a guy over there, Steve Bonner, who was amazing. But Mario though, he's a unicorn.
Yeah.
He really.
He was like, he was ahead of his time. Like pick and pop, put the ball on the deck for a big.
Yes.
And you talk about, not that we're talking about Anton in a negative way. Mario played with emotion.
Yes.
Like in open gym, it could be game point, and he's screaming out everything on every possession.
The thing about Mario is you couldn't understand anything at the time because he was speaking in Russian or Croatian.
Croatian.
Oh,
I was roommates with him for like 5 months, so I know all the Croatian swear words. One time I was playing over in Europe, and I just said one of these Croatian swear words, and the player looked at me like, "What are you talking about? You know what that is?"
you know they put you and I together on the road trips a couple times, so I wouldn't go out and like go hang out.
No, I didn't know that.
So I was like, "How you gonna put me in the room with Dan Dickau? Dan goes to bed at 8 o'clock."
I was low key, that's for sure.
He wore like the little, what's the things that people wear on their eyes at night? So
I didn't do that.
He made his hair all nice. I was like, oh my! I couldn't even watch TV at 9:30 because you were trying to get some sleep. And I was like, this is not gonna work anymore.
I had to get my game on.
You were studious. You were very. That was one of the big differences with you, right? You were very studious about what had to be done. And I was like, all right, we're going to Portland.
Yeah.
I'm going to find something to do.
Well, but you know, that's one of the great things about Gonzaga's program is guys come from different things with different backgrounds and interests, and they make it work.
Yeah.
Like Alex Hernandez has said the same thing to me before. Like, nice defensive opportunity to get out and transition with Anton, but like at the end of the day, we didn't care what your background was. We didn't care where you were from.
No.
We cared, and I think I learned this a lot from like say Mark Spank and Casey Calvary was like, I don't care what you do outside of practice times. When practice and the games are starting, you better bring it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that was special about guys is they brought it all.
Casey, very underrated too. Like
Yes.
people don't talk about Casey a lot. They talk about the Morrisons because he scored, the 40 points here and there. Dan was the first superstar here. They talk about Roney and some things, but Casey though,
He did everything.
man, Casey was a monster. Like,
Trail threes.
I didn't play with Casey, but I watched the kid, and I played with him later. Like I opened gyms and things. Monster, like he did a lot of things.
He was one of those guys where, and I've said it to some other guys that we've talked about the program with, is like, if he would have just been put in an NBA tryout where it was a legitimate shot, he would have fought everybody until he was the last man standing. He would have made the team. That's how he was as a competitor. Good stunt there from Stromer.
Who he reminded me of, anyway, because he dunked on him, is Kenyon Martin.
Yes.
They had that same motor, that
Yes.
same intensity, right? And nobody wanted that smoke with Kenyon Martin. I think Casey was the same way, right?
Yeah. Hickman couldn't quite get that floater to drop. Gonzaga down 5, just under 6 minutes. You're starting to see a little bit of attack off the bounce there. Smith, I think that was Smith. He's a heck of a player. He got really attacked by Purdue fans from what I've read over the summer, because Purdue was a 1 seed and lost to Fairleigh Dickinson a 16, and he and Lawyer didn't play great down the stretch of last season, but he started off playing really well this year.
I want to say what Coach Few is going to say to them.
Yeah.
Here in the next few minutes or when the game is done, is how flat they are.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They're just completely flat. Like there's no fist pumps. And as much as the average fan wouldn't understand this, that raw emotion has to be shown by someone. They're all flat right now. They're all mundane.
Yeah.
They're just on the court, right? And look at all of the Purdue players, how they're yelling, flexing. Even their fan with the hat on just now was flexing, right? So
I expect to see you at McCarthy with one of those hats later this year.
We might bring that out and get some hard hats for these guys and say, hey, whenever you get these, that's you going to work now. Maybe we'll do something like that, but it has to be someone has to start this thing right now.
Down 8, they need a bucket.
Tough. I think I'm telling you, man. I've never even met Stromer at all, zero. And we're around the program a lot.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
Well, you said it from the first couple possessions. You liked his activity. You liked just the way he moved off the ball.
Yep.
And then he hit that one corner 3 in the first half where it just sat around the rim and dropped.
And we all have favorite players that we like throughout the years, and I think that's going to be one I am going to see him evolve as that elite competitor.
So who would have been if there were one Zag that you wish you could have played with, who would it have been?
Well, there's a couple, but I don't know. I mean,
there's so many.
I don't want to make someone feel upset. So I posted this thing a couple years ago on Facebook about the Zags, and we were playing against someone.
Yeah.
And you try to name everyone that you can name, and then some others saw it and it was like, "Oh, what about me?" And I go, "Man, you are my guy, but I can't remember everyone at the same time." But Quinn Hall is one of the players that I would have loved to just been on the court with.
There you go, Anton.
Because Quinn used to talk a lot too.
Yes.
And I like that, right? Quinn was fiery, and little fella, right? Come and get this little fella, right?
Speaking of something like that, where you put a guy's your favorite players list or whatever. Last year, I had a game for CBS Sports at Gonzaga, and the producer said, "Give me your all-time Gonzaga starting 5."
Ooh, don't do
and
that.
that's hard. You put me on the spot, right? You know who I forgot?
Yourself?
Morrison. Because Adam and I do a show together, once a week. He sits across from me at all the home games. He's player of the year.
Morrison's probably in the top 3.
100%.
Yeah.
But somehow I forgot it. And my phone, when it went off, when the graphic went up on the game, my phone started just blowing up. Friends texting me, Twitter hitting me, how could you not have Adam on the list? I'm like, that was a mishap on
Yeah,
my
it
part.
just-
Like, there's so many good players that have come through the program. You're gonna forget
So
somebody.
many good players. I mean, there's players that like fans right now don't even remember. Like Jeff Goss was a good player.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you got the Spinks, like Mark Spink.
He's that fiery
Yes,
competitor
that's what I
that
was
you're
just about to
talking
say.
about.
For to have his length and his slim frame, he wouldn't back down from anybody.
We're seeing these highlights. I mean, Zach Edey,
He's just
and
too big.
he's making Graham Ike look small.
His footwork has improved big time.
It is.
He used to just kind of lug around the court, but now he has his drop steps down.
Mm-hmm.
Good footwork. When your head is at the bottom of the backboard when you spin for a layup,
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably going to get a point or two, right?
Yeah. Well, they're still within striking distance.
Yeah.
6-point game now, 4.5 minutes left. You got to get a stop here. I mean, I would expect Purdue's going to probably go inside to Zach Edey again. So you got to make sure it's a one shot and out. You get a defensive stop and try to keep pushing in transition.
So even Huff is big. Huff's a big kid.
Yeah, he's a good 6'10".
Yeah. And if they just, I mean, who do you have? You have Huff, you have Watson, you got Ike, you got
And Greg.
Greg. Like,
Yep.
let's start putting hands on this guy at half court.
Yeah.
Let's start making him. If we got 25 fouls or 20 fouls, whatever it is to give him, let's put hands on him right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of those things where in the college game, you don't have the opportunity to really, as far as post play goes. In the NBA, at least years ago, you could dislodge further away from the basket than you could in college. They have a tendency to call things a little differently in the college game where you can't do that quite as much.
But even if you
but
pick
you're
him up
exactly
full
right.
court,
It's
right?
making him uncomfortable.
Just make him uncomfortable.
And,
That's it.
and maybe just change his angle where now all of a sudden he doesn't get a straight line run to his spot on the low block. He's 2 feet away.
And
from this spot.
For the young fans out there, let me make sure this is clear. I'm not talking about trying to hurt the kid at all.
Yeah.
Right. Just make him change his angles. Make him change his directions. Like right now, look at how close he's getting to that block before anyone put a hand on him. Right?
Yeah. That's a big shot.
Yeah.
Corner 3 for Purdue. Doesn't look good now. Down 11 for Gonzaga. But this is what you were expecting. I mean, you know, when you look at this field of Maui Invitational, I don't know if you had a chance to look at all the teams. That fan's going crazy. There's your bucket
That's
hat
the
guy.
right there. Yeah. Look at him.
That will be Winston Brooks at
That's
the
my
McCarthy
guy
Athletic
right
Center
there.
in a couple weeks. But when you look at this overall Maui field, Purdue's ranked 2.
Yeah.
Tennessee's 7.
We're 11.
Kansas is 1. Marquette's 4. We're 11. And then the other teams that are in it, UCLA is knocking on the top 25, and Syracuse is a historic program. To be included in that field is unbelievable. Now it looks like Gonzaga is going to lose, barring a sensational 3.5-minute stretch to finish. Now you realize, okay, we got to beat Syracuse, and then you're hoping that you can match up with I would imagine you're probably going to play UCLA, because I would think UCLA is going to lose to Chaminade or to Marquette on the bottom half of the bracket. You want to then play a power. You don't want to have to go then play against Chaminade in that last game.
Because you want to strengthen your schedule for later.
Yes.
Because they look at all that when tournament selection shows and all these things come around. Well, over the last 20 years, I think Coach Krause, recipes, all these guys that put these schedules together knew that we have to play the best of the best at any time.
Yeah.
Right. That's the one thing I did appreciate about us and what Few did is we're gonna start this season off. We're gonna play 6 teams in the top 50. Right. They might not even be in the top 25, but like you said, like UCLA, they're right outside.
Yeah.
We're gonna go play all these teams right now, and it helps because the WCC isn't as strong as we would like it to be, right? St. Mary's,
They've been good as of late, but they've lost 3 in a row now.
that's okay.
Yeah.
St. Mary's, I'm not a St. Mary's fan because I'm a Zag, but man, those guys have been playing hard. But my point is, we're gonna go play all these tough schools. So you play Purdue today, you play whoever it is next game, and the next game, and then we go back home, we evaluate. Hey, we did really good in these things. We didn't do so good in these. Now let's start to put this thing together for this big run at the end of the season, right? And they've done a great job over the last years of doing that. And I think what happened is when Richie Fromm and those guys beat Stanford.
Yeah,
I think it was Stanford.
Yep.
That's when they were like, well, we can do this, right? And they beat UConn.
Yeah.
That's when they was like, yeah, not just love Gonzaga anymore, right? So I think that changed the coach's mentality too.
Speaking of WCC, did you have a favorite gym in the league?
I remember you scored 30-some points at LMU because no one else shot the ball. I mean,
I do remember that was a great set out of the back out of the half court, a backdoor to Hickman. Yes, LMU.
34?
34 in the first half. Yeah. I have to correct people.
I was like, wow, like I was impressed. I seriously was. That's actually that's when my wrist was broken. I was sitting there like, man, like, this kid can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
I like Pepperdine because of all the celebrities that came.
Yep. Plus, you look out and there's Pacific Ocean right there.
Yeah. Santa Clara has a beautiful facility. The sun kind of messes it up, depending on the time of the game.
Yeah.
But man, these guys, he is showing the true emotion of that team right now.
Big three, and then a Gonzaga turnover leads to a breakout dunk.
Yeah. I think all the schools.
It's an undervalued league in regards to the country. I really like the league.
The Jenny Craig Pavilion?
Yeah, that was brand new when we were there.
Yeah, all of them.
Colvin. Well, and that's the problem when you have a big rotating defensively on the pick and roll to Edie. You leave open shooters, so Colvin knocks that one down, and unfortunately the next possession just a bad pick and roll execution leads to the dunk for Purdue.
But I deal with this a lot at work. I go to work and they're like, "Man, your guys look bad today," or "Here we go again." I go, "Guys, it's so early in the season, right? Everyone's still learning themselves as a team, a unit. Especially when you have how many transfers we have this year?
8 newcomers.
Yeah, like we're learning right now. So I don't put too much stock into these games. As in, the fans are going to be like, "Oh my God, here,
Yeah.
I was like, no, just be patient. And then when they win 2 or 3 games and they see a tournament, they're their biggest fans again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Coach Few and staff, they've got the recipe. They understand what it takes. And to your point about scheduling tough in the non-conference, they're going to play anybody. And what's going to do, it's going to expose some warts early. It's going to show some strengths early, and then you refine those strengths and you fix the warts, and all of a sudden, come January, you're clicking.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're looking great.
So, fans out there, don't be upset. This is just a learning process right now.
I mean,
Hickman playing off ball, right? He was the ball handler last year.
Yep.
Right. Nemhart coming to a new program. EK the same thing. They'll get there.
And there's a reason. I mean, Purdue's second in the country. Reigning player of the year in Zach Edey. They've got a great backcourt in Smith and Lawyer.
And I think they're predicting him to be the player of the year again. Oh, he's in the
he was a preseason for most publications. So, and then when you shoot the ball the way Gonzaga did in the second half, I think they were about 35%. I haven't pulled up the stats here in a few minutes. It's tough to win.
Yeah.
So tomorrow morning it'll be an earlier game. I want to say the game's at 9:30 Pacific. We'll get clarification in just a second, but I think it's 9:30 Pacific again tomorrow. But it looks like Gonzaga will go down to 2-1 on the season. But again, I mean, you're looking at, you'd rather go to the Maui Invitational and play the second-ranked Purdue, learn about yourselves, then draw Chaminade in the first round and have a Division II opponent that you're going to beat.
Or play Eastern Oregon.
Or that, yeah.
He's gonna be a pro.
Had you asked
who is the kid that came from Kansas?
Are you talking Ryan Spangler?
No, Oklahoma kid. He came from Kansas. Big kid too.
Batista?
No.
Because he was at a junior college in Kansas.
No. Who?
A Gonzaga player from Kansas.
Yeah. He reminds me of him.
Interesting.
I just can't think of him.
I mean, there was the Montana kid, Ryan Edwards,
Nope.
who I thought was going to be a good player, but then he got recruited over, I think, with DeMontis Sabonis, but that's a tough one.
You can't beat that one.
Yeah. And I think, we touched a little bit about, playing against good teams, but you also learn about which guys you can rely upon when things get tough after a loss and who responds the next day.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see who's ready to go and who can perform at a really high level, because it's less than 24-hour turnover.
Came from Kentucky, Cal Wilcher.
Oh, Wilcher.
That's who he reminds me of.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, skill set wise, yeah.
Yes.
A little bit, he's not the most fluid or explosive athlete, but great hands, great touch. Yeah, that's a good call. How did I forget him? He's a Portland guy.
Well, you didn't pay attention to anyone over there because you were just doing your own thing. Like, you were just dominating over there. I don't care who this kid is. I appreciate you having me. It was fun. Sitting there hanging out with you.
Absolutely. Well, it's unfortunately for us and Gonzaga fans, it's a 73-61 loss. But yeah, Winston, I appreciate you joining. I mean, it was a chance to sit and talk hoops.
Yeah.
Gonzaga hoops, basketball in general, your upbringing from Richmond, Virginia, all the way to Texas and Kansas to NIC and Spokane, and what you're up to now. So as Luka Krajinovic gets a couple free throws with a little under a second left, give him a chance to get in the scorer's book. Appreciate you joining. Thanks for hanging out for a couple hours.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
So you're welcome any other time. Come chat Gonzaga hoops, because you're one of the guys that was a huge part of this program, and you know inside out, and you know what makes this program click.
Yep. Whenever you need a sub again, just give me a call.
Awesome. There you have it, folks. Appreciate you joining. If you didn't catch the live stream version, this will be edited down and released on Gonzaga Nation and our website. So for Winston Brooks, I'm Dan Dickau. This has been the Gonzaga Nation live stream of the Purdue game at the Maui Invitational, where unfortunately Gonzaga came up just a little bit on the losing end. So we'll see you soon. 73-63 in the Boilermakers' favor.